Good morning, everybody. It's 10 a.m. We're just about to start our webinar on the pursuit of the perfect kitchen or bathroom. We've got just about another minute to go before we start everything and kick everything off. So we'll be right back. Okay, I guess we're ready to get going here. We've got the final 10 seconds of the countdown, so we'll start to kick everything off. My name is Bob Buchan. I'm the marketing director here at Cipriani Remodeling Solutions, and I am going to be joined today by Ken Ent. Ken and I work together at Cipriani's. Ken's got over 14 years of experience in home remodeling and design. I love working with Ken. He's got a great sense of style and an even better sense of humor, and we always have fun together. So it's great to be together here, Ken. Welcome to the webinar.
Well, thanks, Bob. Yeah, we do have a good time. We like to think that remodeling should also be fun. Can be a serious topic, but have a good time along the way for sure. And in my 14 years of experience in the many hundreds of different families I've worked with, it's always about having it be light and informative.
Awesome. Well, before we get started, I just wanted to go over some housekeeping stuff with everybody on the webinar here. At the bottom of your screen, you'll see we have a little Q&A section down here. And all you got to do is click on that Q&A button, and then you'll be able to ask any questions. We love things to be interactive, so please feel free to ask your questions. And if you're on a smartphone, all you got to do is tap your screen, and this bar should show up at the bottom, and you'll be able to click on that and ask your questions that way. So we love to get the questions. Please feel free to ask them. Today's agenda, this is what we'll be talking about. We'll be starting out by talking about what is a perfect project. I'm sure everybody has their own ideas what that is and how you can use project planning to attain that. And then we'll talk about finding the right remodeler. Say that 5 times fast. The right remodeler, finding your design style, and then kitchen and bathroom trends. And at the end, we'll have a Q&A as well. But feel free to ask questions during the conversation as well as you know, as things are going along. We'd love to be able to hear from you and talk about that. So we'll kick things off, and we'll start out with Ken here by talking about that. Like, what is a perfect project? I'm sure lots of people have an idea what they think that might be. So what is it from your perspective, Ken? What would you say to people?
Well, that's one of my beginning questions when I'm working with a family is, what is your idea of a perfect project? Because that means really it's one unique thing to every person, every family, every individual based on their goals. So actually, I would love to hear from our audience. When you think of your kitchen remodel, what is your idea of the perfect project? So one way of thinking about that might be as simple as, you know what, I can never find a pot or a pan in my kitchen when I need it. So my perfect project might be more storage. But certainly in a larger category, a perfect project might be, hey, I have a budget that I need to stay within. Or a timeline. I don't want my project to go on for 5 months. What do I need to do to make it run more efficiently? I want a great design. My kitchen is out of date and I want it to reflect my style and today's trends. And I want it to be built beautifully. I want it to be built so that it's going to last for a very long time.
Yeah, and if anyone does have a question, we've got Max from our company is also in the background there fielding questions. So if you have something, go ahead and ask it, and Max will be able to forward us the questions to see what you're asking. And if not, that's okay too. We'll move on to the next topic, the next slide. Yeah, so I guess what you're saying there then is it could be a wide range of things that people may, that may be what perfection looks like to a particular customer. And it's no one particular thing.
Right.
And whatever you're looking for, then that's what we're going to try to attain for you.
Your
And I guess,
personal, yeah, your personal goals.
mhm,
Once you start to define them, you say, all right, now I need a pathway to achieve those goals. And so what is the best way is proper planning. That's going to be the key because it's going to help you identify how to reach your goal and all of the steps in between. So planning will be the key no matter what your perfect project looks like.
awesome. Good. Yeah, and that planning is important, and that's what we're going to talk about next. Is some of the tips or some of the things that you try that would be important for a homeowner to do to plan. And the first one is like what typically does go into planning for remodeling. What are some of the next steps?
Well, you think about it, your home is typically your largest asset. And when people start to research a project, they find that they're probably going to spend more money than they initially planned. A couple reasons for that, because you think of things in general categories, cabinets, flooring, countertops, but there are so many additional considerations within each of those. It's one of those scenarios where you don't know what you don't know. And the more you scratch the surface, the more you realize there are things to be taken into account. So you're probably going to spend a little bit more money than you might have initially planned. And when you think about you're making that investment in your biggest asset, you want to take your time, you want to do your planning so that you get the best return on your investment. So a lot of that is just knowing your options beforehand. And of course, you want it to last a long time. Everything that will go into your project has a variety of installation methods, good, better, best. And so you have to research those as well as, and also the expertise of the people that you're hiring so that you're getting something that's very high quality for many years to come.
Well, and that's a good point, Ken. And I think that ties into our next slide, like talking about good, better, best. And that's sort of defining the scope of your work, right? Because there could be a lot of things that you're thinking about, but you need to kind of narrow that down a little bit.
Yes, all of these things will go into a funnel that will define your scope of work. And so we can pick out some clear ones like your cabinets, hardware, flooring, lighting, tile work, your countertop and plumbing fixtures, but with those also are construction related needs as well. Am I moving the location of my sink? Am I converting my electric range to a gas range? So now we have a gas requirement. That will all go into your scope of work. And also a lot of people are looking to add, for example, a wall oven. So we have to figure out that component, where it'll go in the layout, as well as the construction side of that as well. So we take all of those things, crunch them together, and you have your scope of work.
Awesome. Yeah, it's really important to get that idea defined and clarified too. And then I'm sure that with so many of these things floating around your head between all of these different products, it's tough to kind of nail down exactly what you like. And talk a little bit about how we can use these to help people out.
They're really useful. We're talking about idea boards and, you know, anything from the old ripping something out of a magazine. Yes, they are still in print, by the way, but also the internet using Houzz or Pinterest, where you're collecting things that you like. And I often will tell people, you don't need to know why you're saving something, especially when it's a picture of a large area, you know, the full kitchen. You just say, I like this. It speaks to me for some reason. Save it, because you might be able to detect a trend of some of the things that you like, or you can drill down and get more specific and start saving examples of the various storage solutions that you can put into your cabinets as well. Collect those ideas so that you always have them to refer to.
Yeah, and I guess sometimes as a designer, you have to almost be a counselor for people, because I'm sure if people do this as a couple, the different parties could have vastly different ideas about what they like.
I'll be looking at two different kitchens that are from two parts of the country sometimes. Yes. So that is true. Sometimes I'm marriage counselor, a couples counselor,
Okay.
where we're bringing together different wants and styles into the same space. But yeah, here you can do it for bathrooms as well. So when
Mhm.
we think about the vanity and even more in depth with the plumbing fixtures that are available, whatever your project, an idea board's going to be great.
Very cool. And this is a pretty cool thing. I don't know if many people have access to this or not, but talk a little bit about this and how this helps out.
3D visual tools are amazing because they help you visualize the space. Now, this is something that we here at Cipriani use for all the time for every project because we can build your room to scale, which is extremely helpful because you get to see spatial relationships, uh, floor layout, and clearances, and see them come to life. So you can actually visualize what your kitchen is going to look like and give you an idea of, yeah, I can see myself working in that kitchen. I can see how my pathways are going to be from food prep to cooking and cleaning for that matter. And of course, you can also input different colors and textures and products. So not only can you do this evaluation from a functional standpoint, but you can see all of your looks come together and feel comfortable. Yes, I would love to be in that kitchen. It's exactly the way I imagined it in my head.
Yeah, and what's pretty cool about this picture too is like this probably looks like a lot of people's kitchens, right? There's a lot of stuff all over the countertops, and this was the before here. And actually, I've heard you say this before too, like don't necessarily clean up before you arrive because you want to see the dysfunction, right? Because you want to know how much additional storage people need to cure this.
Absolutely. I'll have an appointment to come out to someone's house for the very first time, and they say, "Oh, well, can we make it an hour later because I need a little time to clean up?" And I say, "No, no, 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 don't do that." So I can see the real world
Right.
that you live in. Because look, no one lives perfect, but when I get to see some of the challenges that are in front of you, that might be organization, ease of keeping things clean. I need to see the real situation so we know what to address and give you the help that you're really looking for.
And there's a couple of cool things with this too, is this picture here isn't the actual after photo. This is a rendering of what it looked like. And down here in the lower right, this is the after photos. You can see it's pretty good representation between the rendering and then the after. And then to kind of highlight what you were talking about, Ken, this was a 3D model of that project as well, so that we can, spin around the room. You can zoom in and out of it and just get a really good idea of what, your project's going to look like and how it's going to function.
You get to tour your own kitchen before it's built. That's amazing. Yeah, I love that you can pan around and look at it from different perspectives. It's fantastic software.
Awesome. All right. What's the next step that people should be doing in planning for their project?
Well, you've identified a few of your things on your idea boards, and now it's actually time to get out there and start researching and seeing things in person. So we're talking about product selections. We'll go to different showrooms and you'll look at what is available out there on the market and start to make those decisions. That can be very daunting because you're going to different types of showrooms, plumbing, tile work, flooring. And while they have some people there to help you, they only know one component of your job. So product selection is something you should take your time when going through so that you get it all looking amazing when it's done.
Hmm.
Hey,
Yeah,
Bob,
no,
I'd love to hop in here if that's okay.
go ahead, Max.
So we have a question from Gloria Anderson here in the chat. I'd like to remind everybody, if you can ask questions in the Q&A, that would be great, but no worries, Gloria. She wanted to know, she needs new flooring done and new countertops. And Ken, she wants to know, should she be doing these at the same time? I think that's really just a question about priority, right, Ken?
Yes, well, certainly if budget allows, you can do them at the same time. They usually are done at once. So I guess it would come down to, in your situation, which is more important? Do you have a soft spot in your floor that also needs to be addressed, or are you looking for the immediate gratification of a brand new countertop?
Mm-hmm. Good. And we'll talk a little bit more about each one of those particular items as we're going through. We'll get down and dive a little bit deeper into some product types. And I guess, like you were mentioning, Ken, when you are in these stores, they can be very overwhelming. You're going to go in there and like I know when I go in there and I'm in the business, you look around and like, where do I begin? These places are immense. So it's good
Right?
to have a trusted advisor, someone you could walk around with to kind of point in the direction that's going to tie everything together.
Yes.
All right, awesome. So let's next slide then is what's the next step here? Whoops, I'm sorry, I advanced too much.
I would start to look at finalizing all of my costs because now you know your scope of work and your product selections, and each of those can be now costed. You know your square foot of certain items, you know what you've selected and the price point, and that will get you to your final investment. But there's another big component of this, and that's roles and responsibilities. How much do you want to be involved? How much time do you have to oversee the project? As you look for finding the right remodeler, what level of expertise are they going to bring to it? So that balance between homeowner and contractor in terms of sharing the project management and other responsibilities will go into your investment cost too.
Perfect. Okay. And then after you get the pricing done, what's the next step?
Well, you should document everything. This is very important. So you want to think about what is your, writing out your plan. So you have your before plan, your after plan that will indicate if walls are being removed and where they now relocated at, changes in appliance locations, but now everything that you've just selected, everything that goes into your scope and product selections, that will mean make, model, and finish of everything that you select, from appliances to cabinets. Tile is an interesting one, and that's why I'm really glad we're going to be taking a deeper dive into tile and trends, because when we think about the way you can lay out tile and the grout that you use, all of these things need to be documented. These are your safety nets that all the work that you did is going to be executed the way that you wish it to be.
Good. Yeah. And it's important because there's probably going to be a lot of people working on your project, from people designing it to people doing the building, the installations, different trade partners, different teams. And it's important for everybody to get on the same page to know exactly who's responsible for what you're getting. And especially for you as the homeowner, you don't want to just sign something and have no clue like, what it is that you're actually getting in it. It's very important to have all this detailed.
Right. And when we think about an agreement with your contractor, you want to have your start date. You want to have your finish date. You want to know what milestones are going to indicate the right progress in your job. So you just don't want them showing up and 5 months later, they're still trying to get jobs done. So that's an example of milestones for various phases of work.
Perfect. Yeah, and we've all heard nightmare stories of that, and that's why we're offering these educational seminars,
Right.
is because that's the last thing we want anybody to experience, is a nightmare like that. All right, and then next step is talking about permitting and zoning.
Right. We're doing that next step in planning for the actual build. So you have to obtain permits, reach out to your borough or township, your town, and start applying for permits. If you're moving or adding electric, if you're moving plumbing, each of those will require your own a permit for each of those. And you need to begin that process and provide the right documentation as well. That is potentially its own full-time job if you've ever navigated through certain bureaucracies. I don't know what your town is like, but some of them are more challenging than others. So
Well, and
I'm going to start that.
especially in the COVID age, right? Because sometimes townships haven't even come back to full staff, and trying to get these things done in a timely fashion is not easy.
Very true. And your project can't get underway until those permits have been filed and you have that great little yellow card sitting in your window.
Yeah, and that really protects you as a homeowner because then you've got somebody else inspecting your job, your project to make sure it's being done properly. And God forbid if there was anything that ever did happen and you didn't have a permit pulled, who knows if your insurance would even cover the damages because so it's a very important step to get this done.
That's true. You don't ever want to work with a contractor that says, oh, you don't need to pull a permit.
Hmm.
They're basically telling you, I don't want anyone looking over my back,
Right.
inspecting my work to make sure that I'm doing things for the safety of the home and the
Mhm.
homeowner. It's
Yeah, or they don't
not
want the hassle of dealing with the township to get the permit.
right.
All right, well, the next point here is from our the owner of the company, Jay Cipriani. He's going to step in here and give us his little tip here about contracts, and he's just saying here that contracts really are worth the work. No one likes the process of coming up with a thorough, detailed contract, but he just wants to be crystal clear, avoid the temptation to bypass this important step. Because really, kind of what happens if people do bypass that step? What are some of the possible outcomes?
Well, okay, so you have a plan, and with that, you have your contract, and it's got every detail in it. You have confidence when you say, all right, I have a clear vision of what my project is going to look like and how it's going to be executed with my contractor. That's like an iceberg. Those are the things that you can see, and you have confidence because you're set to go. But when you don't have a plan, there's a lot of things that are lurking under the water that could be a problem just waiting to happen. And that could be poor workmanship or poor durability because you didn't pick materials that are suited for the wear and tear your kitchen might encounter. You could be wasting time by not knowing the right questions to ask. It could be very stressful. Of course, get angry if you do this investment and you have a bad contractor experience and you lose money. There's a lot of things that without a plan can happen that you just need to cover yourself by having a plan.
Good points, Ken. Excellent. I mean, and after having said all that, I mean, it just
Yeah.
that's a lot. It seems very overwhelming. It seems like there's a lot of information to gather. So let's talk about, what kind of company would be the right company to help somebody put all this stuff together, because it seems very daunting and almost impossible to do on your own.
Well, it can be, and we might be a little bit biased. I think that the design build firm method is absolutely the best, and there's a lot of benefits to working with the design build firm because if your project needs an architect or an engineer that's going to spec an addition or moving interior walls when they're load bearing, we have all of those capabilities within our office or people that we work with. So it's like a one-stop shopping for getting everything done from design to execution. So we have, besides myself, 7 other different designers that we can work with, and we're a wonderful team. We're always sharing ideas. Every project is unique and has its own set of challenges, so that if there's ever something that I've never encountered before, I've got 7 other minds and experiences to draw from. But we will take care of all of that permitting work for you. And then, of course, you get that benefit of project manager and someone who will coordinate all of the various trades and people working on that job. It makes it much more smooth.
Ken, that's a perfect question we got from our YouTube page for you. How often will you be communicating with the homeowner throughout the process?
Constantly, continually. So whether that is through the design work that we have to do, because it starts with conversations. And so communicating, hey, what are your goals? What are your design styles? Making selections and getting feedback. So it's really a continual dialogue between the designer and the homeowner. And that happens really on a continual basis. With the design build firm too, you get that extra assurance that when it comes time for everything that we've designed and spec'd, that transition, who's going to be building your project? Well, we are as well. So we have that direct communication with our project managers. We do something very unique. We have a meeting in your house before the job actually starts. So you get to meet your project manager. So there is a smooth transition of who your new contact person is as they take you through the build, but it should be constant and a dialogue.
Good point, Ken. And that's kind of what you just summarized here, that right with a design build firm, all of those steps that you just talked about, they're all brought together and managed under one roof so that you don't have different companies handing things off and potentially dropping things along the way. You know, design build firm is doing everything.
Very true. Yes. Love it.
Okay, good. Well, next tip from Jay is going to be talking about, you know, the importance of getting the right contractor, because a good contractor really is the key to a successful renovation. He's just saying that there's no two ways about it. The contractor you hire has the power to make or break the outcome of your renovation. It's worth every bit of time and effort it takes to find the right person. A bad contractor, on the other hand, can cost you time and money, sometimes a lot of it. And that kind of goes back to the first point we were talking about, you know, when we're, you know, the keys to success here, you know, in getting a perfect project. The first thing was just taking your time, right? This is your largest asset. Don't rush into it. Find the right person, right? Take your time doing it. And that's what Jay's reiterating here.
Yeah. And, you know, I hear you read that, and a word that stuck out to me was power. That contractor you hire has the power to make or break the outcome of your renovation. That really resonates with me, because you think about how important that relationship is, how you could have a successful outcome, one that is troublesome, argumentative, difficult. It's really, you're putting a lot of trust in whomever you hire. It's all about a relationship, and you want to make sure you're paired right, because it could be an amazing experience with a wonderful outcome, or it could be the opposite. And I don't want to go into some bad thoughts, but we all know those bad contractor stories. So
yeah, and unfortunately, the only thing that makes the news is the bad ones, right? there are a lot of positive ones.
that is very true. A lot of great outcomes, and that's what I love so much, is working with families. The kitchen is the heart of the home. It's the one project that really can change your whole feeling about your home and being able to entertain. It's very rewarding, in other words. And that's why I love it. We always have great outcomes. That's what makes it so much fun as a designer.
Awesome. Well, what else we're kind of transitioning now into the next phase here with talking about some design elements, and we're going to be talking about design and trends coming up. And with you as a designer, what do you do to help homeowners discover what their design is to help them get their perfect kitchen or bathroom remodel?
Well, it goes back to that conversation that's had about what are some of your aesthetics? What are your design goals in terms of, are you someone who likes a classic styled kitchen? So we can look at the Pinterest board and start to identify some of those things. And what I tell people is, you're never going to fall into one of these categories. We're going to look at classic and a few others. You're very often some kind of combination of them. Everybody is. It's a little bit more of that pick and choose style. But we start with trying to find out, what category do you tend to gravitate towards? And in a classic design, the cabinetry is generally going to be a little bit more in the traditional sense, or timeless. So it's going to be more detailed, a little more ornate, very grand in scale as well, and possibly painted or use of woods, whether that's in the cabinets or butcher block. But classic, as the idea might translate to, it's timeless, a timeless style. And then, of course, the other side of the spectrum of that is contemporary, very here and now. That's usually characterized by clean lines, simple paneled cabinetry, very rectilinear, which is a fancy way of saying straight lined and rectangular or square. So not a lot of ornamentation, and usually a more simplified color palette as well.
Hmm. Yeah, I think I noticed the difference between these two is there's no trim on any of this. The other one had a lot of uh, ceiling molding and, ornate trim on it. So,
Yes, those clean lines and simple fronts. Cottage is a nice catch-all term because it really, you're starting to describe an atmosphere as well. So when we think of cottage, we think of easygoing, relaxed. So that might have some characteristics like we see on the left on the island, there's some beadboard paneling, and on the right, open shelves. In terms of style of cabinetry, it's not the complete straight line of a contemporary, nor is it very formal. It's approachable. And I think that's a good word when we think about open shelving. It's approachable. You can just, hey, walk right up and grab something. It's a relaxed cottage atmosphere. So those colors also tend to be whites and creams, very mellow in appearance.
Excellent. All right, next style.
Craftsman style. I happen to love this style a lot because it really is about embracing the craftsmanship, the construction elements, whether that's actually being able to look at the joinery style in the cabinet doors or actually the materials that you use. So you'll see a lot of natural stone or brick, lots of earth tones. So to me, it's very comforting, very logically placed. So you're going to see a lot of square designs, corners, but Craftsman is about both materials and showing off the great skill that will go into your project. Again, with the joinery or maybe some open bookshelves, it's another type of, to me, welcoming environment. Farmhouse. I think if you've seen any HGTV program or something similar, you've encountered Farmhouse. And certainly on the right, we see there the quintessential element, the farmhouse porcelain sink. But farmhouse is also about an atmosphere, much like cottage was. There's a timelessness to it, and you're going to see more shaker style paneled cabinetry. Not uncommon to have tile go all the way up a wall, and it's nice to accent it with a contrasting grout color. You're going to see some open shelving as well, but we'll see that the styling of it is different than cottage. There's some industrial metal feel to it as well.
Yeah, good point. Like that's a good point, Ken, because this is kind of a mix here, right? Because you got, seems like a little bit of industrial style here, and you don't have the farmhouse sink, but you got the open shelves. So it's cool. Like you were saying, people do tend to pick and choose different elements between each style that they like.
Absolutely.
And guys, I'm looking at all of these different fixtures, materials for this given thing, and it kind of relates to Beth Ann's question. Beth Ann, she wants to do a flooring cabinet, either paint or replace cabinets, new countertops, new backsplash. Ken, she wants to know which one would you recommend to do first, or which one would be the best to start?
Great question, Beth Ann. Well, I would start with the one that is going to be the main driving element in defining the design. Because that, if you have to do them in a particular order, you want to make the one thing that's going to be the anchor element in terms of aesthetic, and that is, without question, the cabinets. So you're going to start there. Once you have that understood and defined, then you can branch off into all of your other options.
Any other questions, Max? That was a good question. Thank you.
Just the one that was asking, do we ever do smaller jobs? Maybe it's just good to address that now. Do we ever do smaller jobs like just floors or countertops?
If we ever do smaller jobs, on occasion, yes. We tend to do more full kitchen remodels. That is really what a design build firm is best suited for the homeowner with, but we look at everything on a case-by-case basis.
Right, and we would certainly do those as part of a larger job. Yeah. Okay, and then here's our next style. We're moving from farmhouse to transitional.
Our final style, and this is probably where most homeowners will fall into as you look at the various styles, because it is really the ultimate and picking and choosing from different styles. So here our cabinetry has some detail, but there's a casual feel to it with additional detail maybe in the lighting, in the furniture or chairs that you're going to be using. It's that ultimate combination that just feels right to you. And sometimes when people can't say, well, what is my style? They say, well, you're most likely transitional. The grab bag, but in a positive way.
The safe go-to, right? But there's a lot of room for making it your personality and your style too. So it's a cool thing to gravitate towards.
Oh, absolutely. I didn't mean to say otherwise.
Yeah, no,
because
I
right,
think I kind of indicated that. That's why I was going. Yeah,
yeah. You get to really kind of pull all of your favorites together, and the trick is just to do it artfully. Yep. And that's where a designer really helps to bring a transitional style together.
Mm-hmm. All right, and then here's, I believe this is Jay's last tip of the day, and this is just talking about the benefits of using a designer to help design everything and lay everything out for you. Because he was just saying here that making design mistakes can cost you big money. So it makes sense to use someone with design experience who's been through the process many times and knows how to avoid the pitfalls. Hiring a designer doesn't mean that you hand over the whole process to someone else. The designer is someone who should work with you to design your kitchen to fit your lifestyle.
That's why I like to think of myself as a collaborator, because I'm working with you. And if you ever encounter a designer who's pushy, who is just saying, well, I think you should do this, then they're really missing the point of what their goal should be, what the reward of working with someone is, helping them to discover the right solutions, the right lifestyle options. So it's a collaboration, and someone who also is going to be able to take the time to explain all of the pros and cons of all of the things that are out there so that you get to make an informed decision, because ultimately it's you, the homeowner, is going to say, this feels right and I understand why, and I had someone guiding me through all of these options.
Good. All right, well, we're going to move on to the next section now, which is talking about kitchen and bathroom trends. And so Ken, obviously you've been designing kitchens and bathrooms for over 14 years now. So just thought this would be a good time to talk about some of the trends you're seeing and some of the things you think will be popular coming up in 2021.
Absolutely.
So the first thing we'll talk about is just cabinetry.
Yes. So that's it. Like I said, cabinets are your first big design decision, and white cabinets have been very, very popular. They will remain popular. We're starting to see more integration of color within a combination of using white cabinets. See there on the left, a beautiful pale blue, but we're seeing that and other jewel tone colors. Also have been very popular are navy and emerald green, even plum. And you can be mixing those in again. Hey, maybe you're so bold, you want to do an entire kitchen that is emerald green. I say, go for it. We'll make that the most amazing emerald kitchen ever, but usually little touches. So we're seeing more of a combination of colors and materials on cabinets in the same kitchen.
Mm-hmm. I guess you can use color too, just as like a little bit of an accent. If you don't want to jump in and like on the kitchen on the right, everything is done in navy, but you don't necessarily have to do that. You can just add little touches or pops of color too.
Right. And you know what else is interesting about both of these examples, and that's true for what I'm seeing in kitchen design, less open or less upper cabinets and in favor of more open shelving.
That's an interesting trend. Yeah, and I guess you better talk to your designer to make sure that works for you, because if your cabinets are a mess, you don't want open shelves to display your mess, right?
Right. For sure. Yeah. If you have a bunch of number one dad coffee mugs, you better find somewhere else to put them, because then you may not want to see them out.
Hey, what's wrong with being a number one dad?
Hey, I'm sure you are. Just, that coffee mug is not something you're going to have out on display.
Exactly, right. So that's why it's important for you to observe how people live to be able to advise them as to what's going to be appropriate for their particular remodel.
That's
All right,
such a great example, Bob. Yeah, really.
next topic here is talking about countertops.
Okay. And look, we see several different kind here, and I'm just going to do kind of a general overview. We've got your granite, of course, marble, both of those natural products. So is quartzite. Quartzite is a very like a particular kind of granite, not to be confused with quartz, which is a man-made product, porcelain, and soapstone. And each of those, it's really about finding the right fit for your kitchen because they're different looks. They come at different price points. There's different durability and maintenance associated with each of these. And for the trend, without question, people are selecting quartz countertops very often now. It's really become norm, and they're amazing. They are that man-made product. It's made up of a pulverized quartz stone and other things that are set in resins and binders that make them very durable, make them low maintenance, and they're also antibacterial because they are not porous. Those chicken juices aren't going to get stuck in the stone and start to ferment and do other nasty, yucky things in there. So they're great choices because they're highly durable, low maintenance, and easy to keep clean and sanitary. Those are all the reasons that we love them. And what's amazing is the different looks that they can now replicate. They can look like quartz. They can look like granite. They can look like marble, as we see here in this picture. And then there are various just fun fantasy looks that they've come up with, and including industrial. So they make a great choice for a bar area, or if you're thinking of using a countertop in like a basement hangout space, an industrial looking type quartz would be a perfect fit too.
Yeah, it's really cool how far it's come recently, because when it first came out, I guess the main concern was just the lack of colors and variety in their colors and finishes. But like you had just described, it can really mimic the look of marble and granite right now really well. Like, and we're seeing in this photo, I mean, the veining in it is fantastic. And you don't have the problems like you would with natural marble, like you had just alluded to. And
Right.
some of the fantasy stuff is pretty cool, because I've seen like glass and a sparkly kind of material embedded in it. So it's really, really, it stands out beyond what you can get in the natural world, because it just looks amazing when they embed all that stuff into the material, how nice it can look.
Right.
All right. The next thing we'll be talking about here is talking about islands. What are you seeing with islands?
Well, islands, really, they're the hub within the hub. If the kitchen is the hub of the home, the island is command central. And so with command central, that means it's going to be multi-purpose. It's not uncommon to have the main sink in the island, or even a second prep sink. It's where people are gathering and hanging out. It is a place where you're going to have additional storage. So we look at an island of trying to figure out what is the right size for your kitchen and clearances, and then how can we have it perform the many different things that, as command central, that this island is going to perform for you. So whether that's Saturday morning, hey, maybe you're watching us today from your kitchen island.
Maybe you want to be.
Or you'll want to be. Yeah, imagine that, how you could just be checking out your beautiful kitchen right there in the center of it. But working from home, kids doing homework, the island is where everything is happening. So we look at it from a various need and really setting up the different functions that it's going to require.
And it's nice. I guess it can function too as a barrier between you and like guests. If you're entertaining, right, you can have your work and prep area, and it's nice because you can still intermingle with people, but yet still have the separation where you can do your own work.
Right. Yes. If you're at the stove, you know, you don't want to have people coming around as they're getting over to the refrigerator to get another drink or maybe to hand you something. It does help to define the work triangle area and kind of be that buffer zone to allow the chef, the host, to be able to perform their tasks. And at the same time, have people be able to, hey, belly up to the bar, hang out with you and be part of the conversation. I think the first few times I entertained, I didn't feel like I was attending my own event. You know, it was all of my guests were in the dining room, and now we were seeing less dining rooms and larger kitchens that have an island. So you get you have your loved ones and friends around you in the kitchen with you at the island.
Awesome. Hey, and the next section we're going to be talking about here is talking about mixing metals. And just like we were talking about before with design styles, you can pick and choose different styles to come up with your own style. I guess the same thing can happen with metals, right? I mean, people often worry about, is it okay to mix and match things with metals? What's your answer to that?
My answer is yes, go for it, but thoughtfully. Because yeah, there was a trend where everything had to be matchy. Everything had to be the exact same finish. And while that's okay and still okay to do, I say be bold. Mix your metals, because there are so many different places within a kitchen where you can mix metals. Think your lighting fixtures. Appliances are, hey, there's more than stainless steel out there, you know. The furniture, the stools that you have, different metals, the handles that you have, your kitchen faucet, you can mix them up. But the key to this, and another good reason to work with a designer, is it's all about striking the right balance and how do these metals complement each other. And if you have even one metal that you want to be contrasting, is that contrasting metal there to achieve a design goal? It's all about mixing them in a thoughtful way. So this is going to be, again, a little bit more of an eclectic mix, but I say go for it. It's very rewarding because it makes it more of a personality space. You get to interject things that you like and bring them together by mixing metals. Go for it.
Awesome. All right, the next section we're going to be talking about is a feature wall. And it's just, what, in your opinion, is a feature wall, and why would you want it?
Well, a feature wall is essentially a focal point. It's that wow moment. It's something that's going to be memorable for your guests and family when they walk in. And hey, you know what? It's probably going to be memorable for you, or that wow moment, every time you walk into your own kitchen. You're doing this as much for you. But the idea of it is, it's where your eye is drawn to. It's the major component design-wise and perspective, and that's why I like this graphic so much. You look at the little dotted lines coming from each of the corners. It is a graphic illustration of where does my eye lead towards. And so we call that your focal point. Another kind of idea to balance is that you will often not only have a single focal point. You'll have a primary, but there can also be secondary focal points. In this case here, we look off to the left. The wine area in the back, that whole rack, is a secondary focal point. But whether it's that wine rack or the main focal point area, lighting will come into play very often to help enhance that feature of being the focal point by drawing your attention to it. Lighting often goes into a feature wall as well.
Great. And then, so that's kind of highlighting the kitchen feature wall. Here we got to show a couple bathroom feature walls.
Yeah, because here's feature walls in a different concept. Look at this bathroom on the left. The fact that the tile goes across 3 different zones, we'll just say 2 zones, grooming and other, and then the shower area. So if you were to break up that tile and just use it only in the shower, it wouldn't have the unifying factor that it does as a feature wall. It makes that space seem larger. On the right, a feature wall can also be a way to impart your style or a characteristic. So if you like rustic, hey, that barn board would be the perfect touch. We think about, okay, I have a certain design style. How can I incorporate that into a feature wall?
Yeah. And that's pretty cool. And you can see in the mirror that the entire room isn't barn board. It looked like you were walking into a packing crate probably. But yeah, with the rest of it, it's kind of a green color. But yeah, having that one wall, it makes it stand out.
Yes. So for certain things, less is more. And a feature wall is the perfect opportunity to do that extra punch. But knowing with it comes the right restraint is going to give you the best look.
Yeah, it looks really cool.
Mhm.
All right.
Hey, Bob, while we're on the subject
Yeah.
of bathrooms, we have a question from an anonymous attendee in our Q&A. They ask, if we have our bathroom done and we want the same vinyl plank flooring throughout the first floor, would we, meaning Cipriani, be the ones who could install that as well? And I guess, Ken, that all depends on the scope of work and the size of the project, correct?
So just like Bob said, we can do flooring, we can do countertops, we can do everything. And yes, actually all the time as it relates to that specific question, we're doing a bathroom, a full remodel, and we're using that luxury plank in the bathroom. Yes, you can also have Cipriani install it in other parts of your home because it's part of a primary project. Yes, absolutely. And we love it. We are going to talk a little bit more about luxury planks, but yes, you can rely on
the floor behind me.
Yes. Looks amazing like wood. I don't know how big everyone's picture of you is there, but
Probably pretty small.
okay, then they can't see all of the beautiful detail that it has, like
We'll show that in a minute.
a rustic appearance. Yeah, we will do that in a minute.
All right, next topic is talking about range hoods. So that kind of ties in with the last two things we were just talking about.
It does, because a decorative range hood, and this example is perfect. It's showing how it can be the pinnacle of a focal point. Look at how amazing and beautiful that is, because it's also using mixed metals. So we're seeing these two different concepts come together in one element. And here we have the black metal accented with the aged brass, and it's just a showstopper. And then we can see that these two design elements with the black island carried through, with the aged brass carried through in other small parts. It's not used in all of the other metals here in the kitchen. We look at the pendants over the island. Those are not the aged brass, but they're a darker finish. And the handles on all of the cabinets are a mix of white and aged brass. So you can mix those up, but people are really looking for a decorative range hood because, you know, stainless steel, as nice as it is, people are looking for more of a place to really make a statement, to bring in their personality. So it could be made out of wood, plaster, many different things, brick even, do a brick style. That works great in a cottage. Now imagine that brick to have a whitewash on it. Very cottage. It could be super that way. So think about your range hood in being a focal point. To me, that's just outstanding.
And another item that was kind of tying into a feature wall and having a focal point is talking about backsplashes. What are you seeing with backsplash trends?
Full height, take it up, take it all the way up. Go for that drama. At the added flair of just the continuation of the back wall. So in each of these, here are they're focal points in and of themselves. We look at the kitchen on the left with the tile going not only the way up, but all the way across that wall. So now the entire wall is the focal point. And I think most people are more comfortable with using a more muted tile, more natural, so that it doesn't become all about the tile. So a backsplash has to strike that right combination with all of the other materials. But look how dramatic that is when you go all the way up to the ceiling and all the way across. I love the kitchen on the right with that, the way it swoops, you know, your eye just wants to follow those veins. It kind of has that rhythm of steam coming off of your paella or some, you know, it's that movement as you're cooking going zoom right up the range. Or
right up the range hood.
Yeah.
That's good, Ken. I didn't even notice that. Awesome. That's why you're the designer and I'm not.
It just has that movement that feels fun. And you're like, yeah, I see cooking going on there. But yeah, you can certainly take your backsplash all the way up the wall.
Awesome. And we're talk a little bit about some new backsplash styles and ideas. I personally haven't seen these. Have you seen any of these in use?
I have, and they look amazing. Now, what we're looking at in this particular example, but what I'm seeing other examples of in the showroom are a combination of materials for each individual tile. So they kind of put them together, and the combination I'm speaking of are natural stone or marble paired up with metal. And these metal accents can really add a graphic quality to it. We look at a hex tile on the left, and the way the two on the right with a little metal accent can just bring in that geometric pattern as well. So it's that pairing of cool, easy, natural stone, the bright shine and metallic draw of that metal accent. It really can add so much to a kitchen.
Yeah, it does. And when you like, for me, I haven't seen these used to often. So like having a big wall like that, it really makes it dramatic and stand out. And you're seeing something that you don't see all the time. So that can really be a nice feature a nice use for a feature wall too.
Absolutely. When we think about pattern and scale, if you have a larger tile, you're going to want that larger space to establish the rhythm. And I think it has been done with beautiful expertise there. The right choice for the right area.
Oh, that's a good point too, Ken. The size of this is nice because if you did this in like small little glass tile, it would probably look like you're in a tile factory, right? With the explosion, right? But this, because the pattern's bigger, it seems to fit the space better.
Correct. Yeah. So we'll scale and pattern repeat. Two other things, unfortunately, we won't be talking about today, but as a designer, always come into play when I'm looking at really anything, but especially on backsplash tile. Yeah.
And I guess another trend here is having some larger format tiles. So talk a little bit about that.
Right. Because you get to fill a wall, and like you were saying earlier, little tiny tile going to feel frenetic, and sometimes that's an energy level you're looking to establish. But with a large format tile, it's about more relaxed because the pattern just kind of flows from one large tile to the next. So you don't have as many interruptions, and also not as many interruptions with grout lines. So it's just a different, cleaner look. You use those large tiles, and there's just a natural expanse to using them on a large wall. I love the look of this too, especially with something like marble. You get that luxurious look.
You sure do. It looks awesome. And when I first saw this, reminded me sort of like looking at octagons like that. I remember my grandparents' apartment that they had, or their home that they had. It was using like this black and white ceramic octagon tile, from the 1950s. And I'm looking at this; they certainly have come a long way since then.
Boy, they have. Yeah, no, I know exactly what you're talking about. I think many of us have seen the old black and white. It was ceramic and it's solid color, and they'd use them in some kind of geometric form. But what's interesting is they're taking these traditional shapes and updating them. So we're doing them in stone, in glass, even full on metal. We might remember seeing that trend of the metal square mosaic in the past. But now we're using it a little bit more lightly as accents, as I said earlier. But we're taking these familiar shapes and updating them, making them feel like you want to have them in your kitchen by using them in new materials and the variation of natural stone versus a solid ceramic really makes them feel more comfortable too. But
Yep.
we're not just, I was just gonna say, we're not just changing or updating the materials, but also the sizes. So you're gonna see Subway backsplash tile in different proportions and different scales as well.
Yeah, and I just wanted to point out that not only we're seeing that as an example in the kitchen in the last slide, but now obviously we're seeing that for use in bathrooms as well.
Yeah, and this is such an interesting tile because they have, it's a ceramic tile, but the pattern is to look like wood grain. And those lighter tan tiles are travertine. So you can really kind of mix that in. It's a mosaic within a mosaic when we think about the pattern repeat, and then also the materials or the looks that are being replicated. And here it is in an actual installation. This is a steam shower that was built by Cipriani and designed by Sue Faramelli. So I just love the way all of the colors come together. And of course, being a steam shower, that means it's going to be a fully enclosed space. So you're going to want to tile your ceiling as well. And I loved her creative use of that same tile both on the floor and ceiling to mimic those planes. It just feels very comfortable space to be in. Take a long, hot, steamy shower. I think that's such a beautiful project.
Good. And another trend that we're seeing too is using the tile for flooring. And
Yes.
which not only just for flooring, but in this particular way of doing it. Obviously, tile for flooring has been done a long time.
Oh, don't be so literal, Bob. Patterned tile, of course, and what a great place to use it is on the floor. You can use it on backsplashes too, and we might have seen that, but look how it can define a space and really set a character and tone. So again, on the left, I love the graphic quality to it. And then on the right, kind of has more of a old world or sweetheart feel to it, a little bit more of a classic feel, so that in this bathroom with the pedestal sink and the beadboard wainscot, it's a great way to impart a feel and reinforce a period or style as well.
Excellent. And then the last section that we're going to talk about here is flooring. And just talking about some of one of the trends that you see, a popular trend for use of flooring. So I guess I'll just drive by this because obviously there's a lot of different styles, and we are bumping up on our hour here. So I'll just go right into the LVT that you're seeing out there.
Yeah, because it really is such an amazing product. It is very durable. It is pet friendly. Now, look, nothing is 100% scratch free, but you think about something like hardwood floors. They're going to get banged up, dinged, and animal claws are going to etch their way into it. Luxury vinyl tile is much more resilient. It is 100% waterproof. So you can have a spill on it and it's not going to damage. It's not going to delaminate like predecessors of this product did. Think of a laminated floor that's going to separate. We've had projects where you can use this in laundry rooms and just drop your wet towels on the floor before you throw them in the washing machine. They're not going to damage your floor. So it's such a resilient product. And here is another technology that has come such a long way in the different looks that you can achieve with it. Wood is probably the #1 look, but it can also be made to appear like stone and tile as well. But with the wood being the #1 choice, because it is such an amazing alternative to a wood floor, there are different looks within that. Rustic, the floor behind you has a rustic feel to it. You can see knot holes in it. The example here that we're looking at has more of that light oak, so a little bit of a farmhouse classic feel to it. It's just really an amazing product with the different things that it can convincingly duplicate. And yep, it's being used in bathrooms and in many different styles as well. Go ahead, use it in your bathroom. It's waterproof, it's durable, and you know what? it's also warmer underfoot. So it's not going to be cold like a tile will be. And it's also more forgiving on your joints, your ankles, your knees, your back. And so imagine, being in your kitchen and, having to prepare a meal and feeling that hard floor. The vinyl tile is a little bit more easy underfoot. And hey, warmer in the bathroom. You don't want to step out and from your beautiful steam shower and get cold tootsies stepping on tile floor.
Nobody wants that.
Nobody wants that.
All right, well, awesome, Ken. You did a fantastic job. And with that, that's the end of the presentation. So we can go to the Q&A section here. And I appreciate all the questions that you've asked so far. So if there are any further questions, we'd love to be able to get them from you now and ask them online. So go ahead, Max.
Yeah, Beth Ann, you win the award for best questions of the day. Beth Ann she just wants to know, Ken, if you had to pick between LVT or tile. It seems like from what you were just saying about LVT, that's a pretty good. That might be the one out of the two. But what would you recommend out of LVT versus tile floors?
If you told me that you had 5 big dogs, and I would say, hey, tile's the right option for you. Or your kids ride their bikes in the house, which I'm telling you is not uncommon. I've actually had someone say, I want my kids to be able to play ball in the house. Okay, tile is the right choice for you. So I would say the main differentiator between the two is the ultimate endurability that tile is going to offer you. I think in every other way, I prefer personally the luxury vinyl tile, but it would be about finding out what your lifestyle is like in your family, really for what is the best. But waterproof and looks, I love the LVT.
Would you say LVT is less expensive than tile is too generally, when you consider the installation costs and everything too?
Absolutely, especially when we think about installation costs compared against hardwoods, but especially tile. Tile has an underlayment that has to be set first. So there's materials and labor that goes with it. You're going to have to install each individual tile. That takes time. You're going to do it in sections because you can tile yourself into a corner, so you have to do things, in stages and let it set up overnight before you can come back and grout. And then you have to clean up all that grout haze and you have to seal the grout. So the installation component of it is vastly different, longer, more expensive. So we love the LVT because you just have to make sure you have a level floor and get started with laying it. A lot of them are snap and click together. Some of them can be glued down, but it is a much faster installation and the product cost is very favorable for the LVT.
Great. Any other questions, Max?
Michelle Rittman, she asks, which would you do first, Ken, painting or flooring when it comes to renovation?
Flooring. I consider myself a paint specialist. There are 1,600 different colors from one deck in Benjamin Moore. Benjamin Moore has 2 decks. Sherwin-Williams has 1,000 colors to choose from. What I'm saying is, it is so easy to select a paint color that's going to work with all of your decor and your design. Start with your floor first, because it is also a major defining factor in most rooms.
Wonderful. And Gloria Anderson is, she's just clarifying from her question earlier. She does love her cabinet. She was wondering, would we do a project that would include backsplash, floor, and counters, or should she look for separate vendors for those 3 things?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't understand. Well, no, that's something that we can do. In fact, that's what makes it so great for homeowners. We're going to take care of all of those details, both in designing, selecting, documenting. Don't forget the importance of documenting, and that's right. One of my roles.
These tips.
Yes, make, model, finish, so that when we get started, we are able to oversee all of the different trades, the disciplines, all of the things that need to happen. Yes, we are, that's the heart of what we do when it comes time for the build phase, is coordinating all of the different needs, players, and materials when they're needed. So yes, we can juggle backsplash, countertop, flooring, all around your countertops.
Awesome, Ken. That was great. And that will do. Oh, I'm sorry, we have a couple more.
Good, good.
Okay, so if Beth Ann asks if you have old brick in your kitchen, would you paint it or reface it?
If I had old brick, well, I guess if you're in either case, you're not happy with the way that it looks. So I think first I would try cleaning it and seeing, what it feels like, what it looks like. If it is in disrepair, I would want to know if it is affecting it structurally. But certainly you could do either one of those. Paint it, you're going to change the look. You're going to mellow out the color variation. You're not going to notice all of the individual bricks and the mortar as much. So it really kind of depends on your goal, but I'd start with cleaning. I'd make sure that it's sound and safe. And then really how you treat it thereafter is about the look you're trying to achieve, not only in the aesthetic environment, but also levels of contrast and whether or not you want this to be a focal point or to what degree you want it to be a focal point.
Yeah,
Awesome, guys.
I guess too, Ken, that what would you say brick typically, what style does brick typically lend itself to? Is it more like, I've seen it like used in an industrial type look, or more of a rustic kind of a look? But I mean, if Beth Ann doesn't like those looks, maybe that's why she doesn't like the brick too. I'm not sure what the issue is with that, but if it's
Sure.
not matching her design personality, is there a way to morph brick into different personalities, or is it kind of stuck with the design you got?
So maybe that's why she was thinking of refacing it. You might like the look, the idea of it, but it didn't have the particular characteristic that you were looking for. But to kind of filter back in Bob's question is that a brick can be used in many different aesthetic settings. He mentioned rustic and industrial. It's going to fit into craftsman, and it can also be used in the wonderful grab bag known as transitional, and in which case I would see it being more of a mellow, a painted brick, so that you're getting the visual texture that a painted brick has without the dominance of the color variation. So it can be used very broadly. Like it's another one of those things like mixing metals, that you have to do so thoughtfully in balance of the rest of the design.
Awesome. And that will do it for our Q&A here on the Zoom and for YouTube. Thank you to everybody. And if any of the homeowners have questions afterwards that maybe it's not popping in your head right now, you can always reach out to us at wecare@ciprianibuilders.com.
Yeah, that was awesome. So thanks, Max, and thank you, Ken, for your presentation, and thank you everybody else out there for watching and taking the time to check in and ask your questions. And like Max said, reach out to us if you have any further questions. We'd love to be able to answer them for you. Our goal is to make sure that you get your remodeling project done the right way, and that's why we love giving out this information. So thank you again. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.